Good evening, everyone. This is the June Finance and Shared Services Committee meeting. We have a packed agenda tonight because we have a lot of contract renewals. I am going to start the meeting with the first item on the agenda, which is the monthly attorney fees. If any of the board members here have any questions, we only have Bush Law attorney fees this month, no core zero low attorney fees, which is great. It feels good to have just one bill. And we got it yesterday. I hope everybody's had a chance to review it. I personally don't have any questions, so if nobody else does, we can move right on to the second item on the agenda, which is the bill list. Any questions from the board members on the bill list? All right.
I do, but I'll ask it later. I don't want to ask it now on the bill list.
Not right now?
No, I'll ask it off camera.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm just gonna update everybody on the questions I did have that I, asked Ms. Allen in a pre-meeting, was for a couple of checks that we had to do pre-meeting, between the meetings that, as members of the public are aware that we do what is necessary between meetings, but most of the bill list that is approved during the board meeting, public board meeting. So we did have one lacrosse official check, but Ms. Allen let me know that the check was lost in the mail. It was board approved, and so they had to cancel that check and send another one, and that's why that happened between board meetings. The other one was something that the board members approved for Team PEP. That was just something that had to be prepaid instead of postpaid. Just something that, again, it was approved by the finance committee chair, which is me, and the board leadership, Mrs. Fabiano. So we'll go with those two. And the other question I had on the bill list was for Oceans Computer Group, which is for $20,000 for message archiving facilities. And Dr. Layden helped me get the answer for it with Mr. Feldman, because we do use another backup service called SysCloud, but this is more for legal purposes. The ability of this service is very different from the one in SysCloud, which helps us back up Google and Microsoft accounts. So this is more from a legal perspective, to put, the long story short. And those were all my questions. So if nobody else has any other questions, we are going to move on to the next item on the agenda. Ms. Allen, if you could talk about the GovDeals technology cell.
Yes, so this is, Mr. Feldman will be holding a sale through GovDeals in either late August or early September. He plans to sell about 2,300 iPads and cases and chargers. So that will take place. That, since we're doing the iPad refresh this year, that is what this surplus of iPads will do.
Yeah. And Dr. Lehman, could you speak to how often we do the refresh? It's happening this year, but.
Yep. So the refresh is on target now to occur once every 4 years. And that's our refreshment plan as well. So our payment plan is over 4 years. Our refresh cycle is 4 years now. Insurance coverage is 4 years. Everything's the same.
So any community members listening in, this is when your iPads, your children's iPads need to come in, because they refresh. 2,300 iPads will get refreshed in the month of July. And so this committee is going to authorize and move it forward to the board to sell these iPads on govdeals.com, which is where we get the refurbishment money from. Is that all on this agenda item? All right. The next one is lease purchase update. Wow, we're on number 4 out of 5. We're barely 5 minutes into the meeting. We're going at rocket speed today.
Done with curriculum in what?
An hour.
An hour?
Please don't say it was because I wasn't here. No. I'm wearing my Monroe senior mom t-shirt because I just came from a volleyball game, but that was the reason I wasn't here yesterday. So lease purchase update, would you please let us know?
Yeah. So we are looking to have a lease purchase of equipment in the amount of $1,623,000 this year. That would include a computer equipment, a copier, instructional equipment, some water bottle refilling stations, textbooks, floor scrubber machines, AEDs, and that's pretty much it. So what will happen then is we will go, ask the board to approve this, go forward with this on Wednesday. We'll publish, advertisement for, the financing notice, for the bid. July 23rd, we would have the financing bid opening. July 30th, we would ask for the board to approve the bid award. And then August 15th, we would expect to have the closing on the financing. And I just wanted to start to spend, the money.
So, just so that everybody knows, June is when we close our financial year, and July is the beginning of our next financial year, and that's when this lease purchase happened. Ms. Allen, do you want to highlight the fact that this is the first year in a lot of years that we've not had to purchase a bus?
Yes, yes, it is, I'm not sure how many years, but it's been quite a few years since, we always have been purchasing school buses, several school buses usually every year, and this is the first year we don't have to. So it is a little less this year. But we kind of filled it in with the textbooks, which we don't normally lease purchase. And it's the lease purchase, so it'll be a 5-year lease that will make payments over the 5 years. And the items that are in the lease purchase are considered capital equipment items that last at least 5 years. And that's why they're not like consumables that we would just use in 1 year. So we don't put those in the budget as a 1-year thing. So it kind of lines the life of the equipment, lines up with payments.
So what additionally I want to highlight is that this $1.623 million is part of our 25-26 budget. And because we did not foresee purchase of a school bus, we got smart in the way we put that money into our budget for consumables that will last us 5 years. So I did raise my eyebrows on floor scrubbers and laminators, but it goes to say that we were smart enough to do what we do typically every year. And it's a process that we are very familiar with. It helps us extend our money, and we are able to get equipment and textbooks and instructional material, including, stuff like AED, which would then become a budget line item even without the lease purchase. So because we don't have to buy a bus, it just helps us get that much extra money into to use towards smaller line items, but it definitely helps the bottom line of the budget, which we're balancing on pennies. So I have no concerns with this. Does anybody on the committee have any concerns with this? Excellent. We'll move it over to the main board meeting. The next item on the agenda is the annual contracts, and we have quite a few of those. And one of my asks for Ms. Allen was that if anything, that any provider, service provider, or any software tool services, if we are going to go over 3% annual increase year over year, we would like to know what those. But besides that, most of these are renewals. They're not new. So Ms. Allen, all yours. Help
So-
us walk through this.
Do you want me to walk through each one or just the ones that are over 3%?
That would be a question for the rest of the board members. Would you like?
So we have
Yeah.
I think 55 contracts on.
Yeah, so 3%.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's go over so the reason I use the 3% benchmark is that it's just industry practice. Usually everything goes up by almost 3% year over year. And if it's over that, then it gives a pause to see what it is and why it is higher than 3%. And so I think we can focus on those ones. And then I do have a couple that I have a question on that we can discuss later. So anything that's over 3%, if you could just touch on those for now.
Well, that would be simple because there's only a couple. So one of them is over 3% is Genesis Student Information Program. That's 5% increase from last year, which is $1,340, but it is a 5% increase.
On $28,000?
Mhm.
Genesis is.
Oh,
let me-
no,
I'll
Genesis
figure it out.
was on
I
to the
I
right one. So
believe
it's
it was
38,
I can open it up.
$38,000.
38,000.
Yeah, 38.
What does that entail? Is that, didn't we just go to Genesis
So-
to add some
yeah,
for
so-
1550?
Good
Yeah, so
question,
this
Ben.
is different. So this is just the student portion, the student information portion of Genesis. The, we did just go into the HR, portion of Genesis, and that was $25,000, which we gave in this school year. And then next year it'll be $5,000, not next year, but the following year, $5,000.
Now, this next year is free.
No, next year's free. The following year will be a $5,000, annual maintenance fee, on that. But that's not included in this.
So this is
38,000.
just
So this is,
38 is just the flat for services that we've had for years.
Yeah,
On
so-
student data.
yes, so we have, the student information system, and there's different, interfaces that we pay for that add, add up to that total amount. They're about $350 each. But the main, program really is the 26,000 for the, 26,000.
38 is what I'm looking at.
38,
The full amount is
the
30.
full amount is 38,
Oh, the main program.
yeah,
And the others are the small
and
ones.
the
The
small.
small.
Yeah,
It is-
so that's-
Is the tie.
Yep, so that is one,
If I can just highlight, so what Ms. Allen said was the student information annual maintenance fee is about $28,000 for the next year's contract. But then we tie in Genesis to several other softwares that we use, like Linkit, the Apple School Manager, the lunch tracking import, student bus import, frontline IP interface, ASOP, absence management. So all of those, just to name a few, all of those have a $350 to $700 rate added to those tie-ins into those, which helps us get everything in one place.
the other, one,
If I can pause you for a second, so they are 5%, but have they traditionally been 5%? Genesis, why are they 5%? Are they, is this an anomaly year or they typically?
no, I have that with, oh, for 23-24, it was $37,000, total. Last year, for this year is 36,000, so no,
This year was 36,000.
yeah. Yeah.
I think we were also
It went-
interfacing more.
Yeah.
If you look at the interface, I think the bus piece has always been there. We're linking it with Link It now, so there's $350. I don't know if Link It was necessarily in the bill for last year.
Is
But
this
it
the
was-
new
Yep.
thing that we've added, right?
There was a lesson planner that I think we didn't use,
You're right.
that we used before, so now this year we have another, I think, 2 interfaces that we didn't have last year, so we've added that. So every year it seems to change a little bit.
Right.
Well,
And these are
and-
nightly
The
inter.
difference is 585 over the 5% increase. So it could either be that their increase was slightly lower and we added a couple more integrations.
It was a 5% increase, plus we added $1,340 in new integrations. So
Okay,
it technically is more than 5%, but it's because we've added those 2
okay,
things.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't have any more.
Okay. The other one is DI group, they're hourly, the architects that we use.
A lot, we use them a lot.
Yes. The principal rates remain the same, but just some of the other rates, have increased, in various percentages, 6.
And we pay them after they render their services.
Yes,
Okay, so you're talking about the rate increase in
Yes.
percentage
We use them as needed.
as needed, yeah. So the principal rate hasn't changed, but,
and that's who we normally use is the principal.
right,
And then we have the other architect, project manager. We don't really use it. We use the architect and the principal. So the architect rate increased between the range, from 110 an hour, 110 to 155 an hour, to 125 to 165 an hour.
okay.
So that's.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. Any concerns, any questions? Definitely one of our go-to service providers. But given that the principal that we use the most is the same.
Yep.
I don't have any concerns to.
and the only other one that increased over 5 point, or over 3% was the New Jersey, school jobs, which we had to use for unlimited advertising. And it's a small amount to begin with, so it's 5.5% increase, which is only
Do they have any competitors that?
$100 increase, so it's really not.
Oh, it's
substantial amount of money.
okay.
So
Okay.
the other ones that, that you may see increases are the ones, the student services, certain evaluations or hourly fees have gone up more than that, and that's just what's going on there. But
And
that's,
those are the ones that we pay once, those aren't our annual decided amount of, these are people that we pay as we use their services.
so that's really it. Everything else has remained under the 3%.
Okay, so let me start with the good news. So
Okay.
Comcast contract, there was a reduction. We went down, I think, from 10,000 to 7,000, something like that. I don't know, I can look at the exact numbers, but
Yeah,
there's a
you're right.
reduction, significant reduction in our monthly payment. And I was having a conversation in the pre-meeting, and Dr. Lehman just informed me that there's a reduction in the rates by Comcast, which is great news. And that's a great saving monthly on that contract.
And Mr. Feldman said we have slightly increased bandwidth and the reduced rates. So we're getting a little bit more bandwidth
Wow,
and it's cheaper.
it gets better.
Yep. So he believes it's just the competitive bidding out there
Right.
for Comcast and their
Right.
competitors.
And I knew that it happened at personal levels, but to know that it happens at enterprise levels is definitely good news for the district. Another one that I saw that was new, I believe, added recently, Ms. Allen, was Energy for America. Is, I believe they're used for BAS and HVAC management. What is BAS? Can you remind me?
So,
Building automation system? I'm looking at the, like, I think it's on
In that
page
contract?
2. Yeah, it's on page 2, at the bottom, it says buildings and BAS installations included, and then it says brand new
Page 2 is
included
that.
building automation system, so I'm.
Oh, you're right, it could be building
Building,
automation,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
what they're doing is they
automate the temperature control.
right,
And they do that, we've been using them for a long time.
right. So their contract price for the year is $173,000, 832. And the reason I had this marked up for a question was that the contract says, and maybe I didn't pay attention in the previous years, was that it gives us back $4.20 per program fee. Is that program fee, like per dollar of the program fee, is that the $173,000, or is program fee something else? And I think what I'm reading is in the first page of the contract. Historically, the program's annual saved energy value is over over $4.20 per dollar program fee. And the contract charges $173,000, 832. It just sounds like a great value to me, but I just wanted to make sure that, and they did have some caveat on, they're being conservative on these numbers because they don't know how the new HVAC will behave in Applegarth. So I just wanted to know historically, and this could be answered over email later by Mr. Tate, but is that what our savings have been by being in, by using these BAS systems with Energy for America? Have we been historically seen? And what does program fee mean? Does it mean the $173,000 or does it mean something else?
I would discuss this with Mr. Tay.
Yeah, sure.
I'm more familiar with this, the details.
Sure. No, and
My
I'm,
interpretation, I believe, is like yours.
Yeah.
And I think he can confirm it, but I think if we put out that 173,
we should get.
we should be saving, for every dollar we put out, they anticipate us saving $4.20 per dollar we put out.
And this is just through the automation systems in every building that regulates temperatures for us.
Yeah, which is why like at 5 o'clock, if the building isn't scheduled for something, the air turns off, you know? So when we contact a maintenance staff member, custodian, if we have a night event, they contact Energy for America, they turn the heat back on, they turn the AC back on, we can schedule it to leave on, but other than that, the buildings are automated to,
And all of our buildings, all 8 buildings plus any other
yeah,
subsidiary.
that is my understanding. We can confirm, because I know we've done some recent updates with parts of the middle school and stuff. So we just have to make sure the new stuff is connected. They have a square footage piece, but we just make sure all the new inputs we have are synced to the old ones that we still have in the building, and that those systems can both be regulated. So,
That's-
but that's my interpretation of it. I don't know if that's.
No, I'm just
We
glad
can
I read
confirm
that.
with Mr. Tay.
And I'll wait for you to let me know, but it was just one of the questions on one of the contracts that I had. Everything else seems pretty straightforward. Anybody else have any questions on any of the other contracts? And given that I was on curriculum, I'm on curriculum. I didn't have any concerns with the contracts proposed there, so, but, you know, any of you that are not aware of it can bring your concerns to the board meeting, but any other concerns? Any questions? 22 minutes into the meeting? What?
It's a record.
I know, we're setting records this month, June. All right, that brings us to the conclusion of the Finance and Shared Services meeting. Oh, what? Question, never, I jinxed it. So one last question or discussion. One of the contracts that we are approving tonight is the graduation venue contract for Curing. And I did have a pre-meeting ask for this. I'm not sure if Ms. Allen has been able to hear back from that. Were you able to hear back from
Oh,
that?
I did not hear.
No.
Nope, but I talked to them, actually right before the meeting, and they're reaching out to get the number, they just don't have that back.
Okay,
So,
so as a background to everybody here, the contract is for Cure Arena again for the graduation ceremony of 2026. The amount in the contract is $16,500 plus any additional services. And the only additional service we've taken historically is videography, which is $300. So our graduation costs for that venue are under $17,000. My ask to the administration was to price Rutgers Jersey Mike's Arena again, because we had contemplated using them last year. The reason we did not use them last year, because their costs came to close to $42,000 relative to the $17,000 that we're looking at. So we have asked Dr. Higgins from the Monroe High School to have a conversation again with Rutgers to see what their cost is, for transparency purposes, that we are not choosing Cure Arena for any other reason, but because it's a fiscally responsible location to use. Hopefully before the board meeting, we will have that number for the Jersey Mike Arena for 2026 graduation. But given that last year's number was $42,000 and this year's number for Cure Arena is still $17,000, this committee is going to move forward with that recommendation for the board to approve in the June board meeting. And that was the last thing. And with that, we come to the conclusion of the Finance and Shared Services Committee meeting. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.